Okay, Multiple Story Monday is back, and now that I realize it, there's only like 10 days until the holiday season. Well, 9 if you prefer to celebrate on like Christmas Eve, little Christmas Eve dinner, you feel me? Ooh, I'm getting excited, which means that next week there's only like 2 or 3 days until then. And oh my god, bro. Christmas is by far my favorite holiday. It's just so fun. And I honestly really love giving people gifts. So let's just get right into the stories for the day because I'm done yapping. Would I be the asshole if I don't tell my wife her sister confessed to me? Hello. English is not my first language, so I apologize for any mistakes. Basically saying, I'm sorry if I mess up while reading this. Also, this is my first time posting here, and this is a throwaway for obvious reasons. While my 32M wife, 27F, has an older sister, we'll call her Annie, 34F, for this post. Annie is currently staying with us after her divorce, about 4 or so months ago. Apparently, the guy was abusive and a bad person in general. My wife and I are very affectionate with each other, but she asked me to tune it down a little bit to not make her sister feel awkward or uncomfortable with us. I agreed, but it's been hard because sometimes I forget and then I feel bad that Annie is there watching. To make a long story short, my wife went to have dinner with her friends on Sunday. She said she invited Annie, but she declined and she was just letting me know Annie would be home alone when I got there. When I got home, Annie was in the living room in the dark. I turned on the lights and saw she was drinking. She didn't look that great, so I asked if she was feeling okay. He didn't answer, so I got closer and asked again. She looked at me and said, I love you, and I hate that my sister got the perfect guy while I got stuck with a loser. You know I'm a better fit than her, and other things I couldn't decipher. I just told her I don't ever say something like that again, or I'll kick you out, and she started crying. I took her to her room, cleaned all of her messes, and got out again. I only came back home once my wife told me she was already there. Well, has been acting like nothing happened, but I feel she's always looked at me that way, but maybe it's all in my head. The thing is, I haven't talked to my wife yet because I know she'd be devastated, and I just don't know how she'd react. I'm planning on asking Andy to move out as soon as possible and to just pretend this never happened, but I never lied or hid anything from my wife before, so this doesn't feel right. And I also feel guilty, but honestly, I just want to do what is best for my wife. I don't really care about Annie, but I know my wife does, and this is going to break her heart. So Reddit, would I be the asshole? Commenter, you 100% need to tell her. What if Annie tells her first and spins it like you came onto her and not vice versa? You would be the asshole if you don't be honest. Ooh, it's just like a rough situation, right? Because as much as you want to help your sister-in-law out, she just made it really difficult for herself by doing that. It's like, so I don't know what the correct solution is here. Probably like, definitely tell your wife for sure. You have to tell her because as much as you want to hide it from her, you just have to frame it in a way where it's like you don't think it's a big deal. Like, oh, I came home, she was drunk, she said some things, couldn't really tell what she was saying, but this is what it sounded like, and this is what I want, right? Like, I don't want her here for that long. She can stay for, max blank amount of time, but after that, I don't feel comfortable around her alone. But you also have to you also have to not forget to say that nothing would ever happen between you two, or else she'll think that you might cheat on her with her. So you just got to be smart, plan it out. Don't use ChatGPT. That's for sure. All right, let's get into the update. Update 2 days later. I talked to my wife the day I made the post here. I picked her up from her job and we went to a nice restaurant near our house. We were just having fun and relaxing, and after dinner, I told her something along the lines of, I want to tell you something, and it's not that I wanted to hide this on purpose, but it's a situation where I never expected to be involved, so I didn't know how to react, so please forgive me for not telling you sooner. But the other day when you were out with your friends and you told me Annie was home alone, I got home before you, and she was drinking in the dark. When I asked her if she was okay, she told me she had feelings for me, and it's not fair that you get to have the good husband. I ignored what she said, took her upstairs, and cleaned up the mess in the living room. The only reason I didn't tell you this is because I wanted to believe she was just drunk and bitter, but I now realized it was not fair to you to keep you in the dark about this. Well, she was understandably upset, and we talked more about it. She asked if Annie ever made any other comment like that or if I was ever alone with her. I reassured her that it was the first time, and I never had any inappropriate feelings or thoughts about her sister. She eventually calmed down and told me she trusted me, but she was obviously distressed about the situation. She said she wanted to talk to her sister alone, and she wanted me to drop her off at our house and go wait at my parents'. I agreed, but she also didn't want to kick her sister out on the streets, so I booked an Airbnb for a week just for her. I then did what she asked me to do. After about 3 hours, my wife called me and asked me to go back home, and I did. When I arrived, Annie was already gone, and my wife was in the couch all puffy eyed. I hugged her and we went to bed. I just held her and she cried a little, and then we both fell asleep. The next morning, my wife told me Annie tried to pin it on me and told my wife I was the one who flirted with her and asked her to sleep with me. My wife said she told Annie she already knew the truth, so she better start speaking. Annie then started crying and telling my wife it's not fair that she gets to have a great life when she didn't, and that my wife was always copying her and was jealous of her, so why did she end up with a good guy like me? My wife just told her she was never jealous and she admired her, but not anymore. Then she asked Annie to leave and told her she booked an Airbnb for a week and then she is on her own. My wife blocked Annie every way, and we haven't heard from her again. My wife said we are okay, but maybe couples counseling wasn't a bad idea. And I agreed, so now we're looking for a therapist. I'm so glad she's finally gone and we don't have to deal with her again, and I'm so happy my wife trusts me enough to believe me when I talk to her. We are now making arrangements for the holidays, and a little bit late, but we're putting some decorations up as well. I want to thank all of you who told me to talk to my wife. I realized I could have lost my marriage for keeping quiet. Okay, that's a good resolution. You handled it pretty well. But you did forget the part where you said I'd never thought about anything like that before in my life. And then she got a little suspicious, but granted she would have probably been suspicious anyways. So I don't think it really mattered because you delivered the message clearly. I'm glad you actually said something about it and listened to the people on Reddit. Even though sometimes listening to the people on Reddit is a very stupid idea. In this case, it was a good idea. And it all worked out great. And now she's gone. Hopefully for good, because she is a homewrecker. Anyways, let's go straight into story 2 right now. My boss made me verify that I'm really exercising. Office has an exercise leave program that allows us to stack our two 15-minute breaks to leave early, arrive late, or use the time midday for exercise. This benefit may be used 3 times a week and may be combined with our flexible schedule and lunch break to allow for longer midday exercise periods. We complete an annual form signed by the employee, our boss, and our one-person HR department. I am a woman on the larger end of the mid-size range who works out 5 days a week at a bar/Pilates class, 2 to 3 times a week using exercise leave, genuinely by leaving half an hour early. As of this morning, our executive director, my manager's boss, states I have to provide verification of every single class I attend from now on and from the past 4 months. According to his email, he doubts I have used the program appropriately as there is no improvement in your appearance. Neither my boss nor HR were included in the email, which I have forwarded to my personal email address. He gave me until close of the business Friday to submit evidence. This is the first time I've been asked to verify my attendance at my exercise classes. My relationship with my manager is characterized by a high level of mutual trust. I have been here for 4 years and have had no performance issues, including attendance problems. In that time, I have 4 years of excellent annual and quarterly reviews to back this up. When we all completed our exercise programs forms at our recent staff meeting, our boss even noted that she's never had to ask for verification. Thankfully, I have my studio membership receipt, and the studio manager was kind enough to run a software report of my electronic sign ins for the past 6 months. Though I can verify I have not misused the program, I am disturbed by his email and wonder what advice you would have for addressing the fact that his request is based on my size and appearance and not my work performance. Dude, what the fuck? First off, I want to start with a positive note and say that exercise leave is a very interesting idea and I really like it. Like, I like the idea of it because if you're like, let's just say you're like a person working a job from like 8 to 4, right? The normal hours are 9 to 5, but I'm gonna use 8 to 4 for like a easy and like kind of easier example. So let's say you get off work at 4 and you head to the gym, assuming you have like, I don't know, a spare change of clothes, right? You get to the gym, I don't know, 4:30, right? Change, go do whatever, leave. It's maybe 5:45 because you have to change all that stuff, right? Then maybe there for an hour. After that, go back into the locker room, grab your stuff, leave. Now it's 5:45. You get home and it's like, I don't know, 6 maybe. Like like this is like a best case scenario. And then you got to make dinner. You first got to shower, then you got to make dinner. Now it's 8:30, and this doesn't even account for if you have kids or anything like that. You know, so like there's really like not a lot of time from the time you get home to like eating dinner and then like relaxing for like a couple hours before you have to go to bed. So having this like part where you could leave a little early or go midday, even if it's only 30 minutes extra. It's a great idea. It's just your boss's boss is a fucking dick. Like, what do you mean? Because your appearance hasn't changed. Like, what? That's not the point of. Oh my. Like, that just kind of pissing me off. But I don't know. Let's just get into the update. Update. I appreciate the validation offered by you and your readers and apologize I couldn't be available when it was posted for replies. The executive director's headline for my proof was just a couple of days after I reached out to you, so I had to take action before you had a chance to publish your replies. I thought about replying to the email from my executive director with the verification documents and including my manager and HR. Because of the specter of sexual harassment, nothing easily actionable, but I think we all know it was there. I instead rang a local employment attorney and visited him for a consultation the next day. He advised forwarding the email to my manager and HR without the executive director included, and provided language quite similar to that you suggested, with the addition of asking if management of the exercise program have shifted to the executive director. He also advised to ask for responses via email. I did as he suggested. My manager was upset and HR was surprised. They came to my office together and assured me management had not shifted to him, that basing the request on my appearance was inappropriate, and that it would be not happening again. I sent an email to recap them, and they replied confirming that is how they recalled the meeting. This was the end of it until last month. At our fall all-staff quarterly meeting, the director announced he made the decision to terminate the exercise program with immediate effect. As you ended your reply to my initial letter, he is an ass. Dude, why? Why would he end the program? The program wasn't the problem. He was the problem. Yeah, fuck that guy. We're getting to the next story. I'm done. I'm gonna crash out if I keep talking. Am I overreacting for telling my coworker to stop talking in a baby voice? Hi Reddit, longtime worker, first time posting. I, 22F, have an odd coworker, 22F, and like the title says, she does talk in a baby voice. When I first came to work at her company, she was quiet and never really talked to me, and I understand I am a new coworker, so why would she want to talk to me? But me being the person I am, I wanted to try to have a relationship with my coworker because we are going to be death to death, so I would just start out by complimenting her on her clothes and got us to start talking from there. I finally had my foot in the door, and now I don't have to sit in a quiet, awkward space with her. Until one day, she just started speaking in a baby voice, and at first I thought it was a joke, but there was no joke that was made. It was just her speaking to me, and I just awkwardly laughed, and I just went back to what I was doing. I thought it was a one-time thing. Maybe she was just making a joke, and it just didn't land for me, but I was completely wrong. It was not a one-time thing. Almost every day now, she at least speaks to me in that baby voice once, and it's starting to make me feel uncomfortable because now she will come over by me and talk to me in the baby voice and just start acting strange, such as walking by my desk, stopping, staring at me, and walking away, waiting for me when I go on my lunch. And recently, I was talking to another coworker and she comes over to grab a cup of coffee. He turns to look at us, stares, and scoots over and says, "Can I play?" In the baby voice, I don't even know how to do a baby voice, laughs, and walk away. My other coworker was stunned, but then we both laughed awkwardly and we tried to go back to our conversation. So Reddit, am I overreacting if I tell her to stop talking in a baby voice because it makes me uncomfortable? Commenter 1. I actually had this problem in high school. This girl would not stop with the baby voice. At the time, I never said anything, but if it were me now, I would say, "Why a baby voice if you don't mind me asking?" Which is much kindness as I can muster. So this is going to be pretty useless commentary from me, but I've never had this issue before. I've never even I never even knew this was an issue that existed in life. So let's just see what happens, right? I mean, I don't know what to say. I'm like kind of at a loss for words. Update. Hi. I talked to my coworker and I never thought this would have happened, but here it goes. I grabbed my coworker aside and said I needed to talk to her. She followed me to the break room, and I asked her about why she sometimes spoke in a baby voice whenever she was around me. She looked at me and began to laugh, and I was caught way off guard. She was laughing so hard that she started snorting. She eventually stopped, but it felt like she was laughing forever. Then she walked out of the break room and came back with her other coworker, and they were laughing together. At this point, you are probably as confused as I am. Turns out it was a prank because I was new to the company, and they were waiting to see how long until I broke. I started working here in August. Beyond words, I am embarrassed because this was all just a prank, but genuinely felt weird about this coworker and came to find out it was a prank because I was new. I smiled awkwardly and laughed because I didn't know what else to do, and all I can say is that I'm embarrassed that it took this long for me to realize that it was a prank. Commenter 1. Don't feel dumb, it was real and weird. Commenter 2. fucking weird. Who talks to anyone in a baby voice at work? How old are they? 7? Dude, this was posted in December. So they've been doing this for 4 months? I would have lost my mind, dude. How did they not, like, how did the coworkers not just give up, bro? There's no way that could have been fun for them. I mean, what the hell? Like, oh my god. That's crazy. It was a prank. I mean, it was a shitty prank, I'm not gonna lie. Pranks are supposed to be like a one-time thing, and then they turn into like an inside joke if they're good, you know. But this was clearly just like, hey, can we be a dick to the new employee here? And then everyone was like, yeah, let's do it. And then that's what the situation is. Like, this is not a prank, bro. This is just how to treat someone as shittily as you possibly can. Like, what? Anyways, let's just get into the next story, bro. Can I refuse to pray with my religious client? I am a militantly non-religious person, and I have worked with religion-based nonprofit as a consultant for a couple of years now. I am somewhat new to the workforce, and this is my first consulting gig. They have always asked me to pray with them and for them at the beginning and the end of every meeting. Because I really needed the work, I went along with it, and they have the idea that I support what they do and follow their beliefs. However, as time passes, it is becoming harder and harder for me to put a smile on and fake it, and we have multiple meetings per week. It is making me feel sick to do so, in fact. Is there any way you can see to walk back from the praying gracefully without raising their hackles or awareness so much that they fire me? The praying is just really pervasive, and there isn't really any chance for me to have to run and thank you so much for the meeting before the prayers, as they announce and list the prayers as we go. They are pretty obnoxious about it, and it is all performative nonsense, as I am aware of some of their activities outside the church. I am actively trying to replace them as a client, but I can't afford to lose them right now. Dude, I have no idea if you can refuse to pray with your clients. It's just all up to them. If they if you stop praying with them and then they just like drop you, then it's like, well, guess I'm shit out of luck. But I mean, I don't know what to even say at this point, man. But I mean, as as a non-religious person praying with them, it almost feels like you're a fraud. Not in a bad way, just in a way of like they don't even know. They just assume you're like one of them. It's kind of funny. You're like a double agent or like a single agent. You're like a spy. Who's like sneaking around in the church. You know, let's just see what happens in the update. Update 7.5 months later. The advice you gave me was very useful and it helped me to organize my thoughts and see the situation in a more rounded fashion. I have decided to lean into pretending to be religious and keep this client as long as I can. I have my elderly mother living with me, and thanks to the policies of the administration these people voted in, we are struggling and will struggle even further when the health insurance premiums increase again. So I absolutely fake pray with them every time, and I've learned the verbiage to fit in better with how they speak. If they can fake it in order to profit financially and politically, then so can I. I see this as them doing a small part in addressing the problems they are causing for me and so many others in this country. I'm going to get my bag from these folks who think I am doing irreparable harm, and I am using a substantial percentage of it to donate to Planned Parenthood and other organizations fighting them. I'm frankly tired of taking the high road every time and having it washed out from underneath me, and tired of seeing that play out in the political arena as well. I am also documenting very carefully when I have to advise them that they've broken federal law, and then they lie to me about having addressed it per my advice, and when I am able to move on, if our IRS is in any kind of shape, I will whistleblow on them. Oh my god, there's a comment that says that he should make a donation under the church's name. Oh my, that's so funny. Oh my god. I mean, look, okay, this is like a way to get back at people, I guess. I mean, I understand that like he's basically just saying fake it till you make it, and that's kind of what they're doing. I don't know, like it's just like an evil church or something. Are we in like are we in the depths of hell when it comes to churches and this is just like some crazy religious cult? Like I don't really know what's going on. I'm not trying to offend anyone's religion here. Okay, let me make that clear. I do not want to offend anyone. But I'm just like kind of confused. So like he's just like taking their money and he's just like giving it to the organization they hate. Oh, the situation is kind of funny, but that's all for Multiple Story Monday. Let me know what you all think in the comments below, and I will see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.